All right, so welcome to the YOUmedia Podcast number 18. So today we're going to be talking about some tough issues in regards to what had happened last week in regards to Parkland with the school shooting once again. And we're going to basically talk about what is the right method or right options for us to going forward to hopefully prevent this happening in the future versus the rights of those who have guns in this country. So I am your moderator, Montgomery. I'm here joined with...
What's up, y'all? It's Vinny over here.
My name is Nathan.
I'm Sophia.
Jermaine, also known as
No.
J Traumatic. Hi, how you guys doing? Hello, world.
Brian, your most infamous producer.
Hi, I'm Lowell.
It's your boy Skills. You pop up back in the video. Y'all know how it is. young Charzetta. That's all I
Bow,
want to say.
bow, bow.
Power 109 in the morning.
All right, so let's start with this debate, in which we are looking to have more increased gun control. Is that a good thing?
I mean, Australia, they had one really mass shooting.
Closer to the mic.
Australia had a really bad mass shooting once. I don't know how long ago. Probably in the late 2010 or something. And they put one gun control law, and they didn't have a mass shooting after that. Anything bad, anything horrible after that. So I think, some type of law would work that would restrict really heavily. Something new, a new, what's it called? I don't know what they call those amendments, those big laws.
Just something that, based off whatever's happened in our country, we want to see a change. So
Yeah.
you're using the Australian.
Yeah, because they
Um,
changed. They enacted a law,
Okay.
and then nothing bad happened after that at all.
All right.
After one massacre. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
What I don't get about this whole gun stuff is you can buy a M16 off the streets without no problems, no paperwork, no nothing. But you can't buy a hellhole gun. It's a handhold that you can just put in your pocket for safety. I don't like that. You can just buy an AR out of nowhere. You can probably buy a bazooka if you know the right person.
Jeez.
But
GTA.
that shouldn't be right. All guns, so you have to pay for some papers for all guns. Because some of my friends even have guns. I don't accept it, but some of my friends mostly have guns. But I don't like it. So there should be a gun law for the minors. It should be at least 20, 22 to have a gun.
So every gun too, like you saying,
every gun.
regardless of if it's that small little pistol, 9mm to
You actually need paperwork for that small little pistol, but you don't need paperwork for the big old M16s that kids are shooting up schools with.
I got you.
That's not right.
I would agree with that, but I just feel like, why would you sell? I mean, especially in an inner city or any place, really, to be honest, why would you need an AR-15, an M16, any of those assault rifles? Why would you need that? You understand what I'm saying? When the NRA puts these guns on the market, you know what I mean? Is like, what would possess them to put that on the market? Do they not look at the risk of this? And even when they say, people, they go through mental exams and stuff like that, and then they say even okay, what is this? The mental illness from opposing viewpoints in the context of whatever. All right, so the main problem is that they say that they can't regulate who is who's getting these guns or whatever like that. But that's a problem right there. If you can't regulate it, why would you put these weapons of mass destruction in a way? You understand what I'm saying? Because you can kill multiple people with these guns. You've seen it from right here in this incident. We've seen the Sandy Hook years, back.
That concert.
That LA Vegas. I mean, not LA Vegas. Nevada. You know what I mean? But we see this time and time again. Columbine way back then. So it's just.
ARs are made for killing men. That's especially what they're made for.
So just to clarify, the NRA does not produce the weapons.
Okay, but
You have gun manufacturers, and then you have the NRA that support the gun rights of owners. So they have people buying guns, and the NRA will support them. So they're not necessarily advocating or producing weapons themselves.
But they are going to promote it, and they're backing people who are making these guns and who are putting these guns in stores. You understand what I'm
No,
saying?
I agree.
So that's a problem itself. So it's just like saying you're against abortion or whatever like that, or you're for abortion, right? But then it's just like, you understand what I'm saying? It's whatever you're backing, that's obviously what you are for. You understand what I'm saying? So they're just as wrong as the people who are selling these guns to these kids.
Right. Now, a question to you. Is it the fault of the NRA or the manufacturers of the gun? And I'll use this example. If you use a car and you kill someone, are you going to hold the car company responsible? The exact same way you would hold the gun responsible in a murder.
I feel like that's very different. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
Unless something was wrong with the car brakes when you bought the car.
what?
Like, you know how some cars come defaulted, like tires or anything like that.
Yeah,
The steering wheel doesn't really work. Recalls on the car, and you don't have like the real recalls until like somebody dies from that. Like the brakes could have been like, you feel me, not working for that car.
I still feel, yeah.
So, rather than saying, how about we ban ARs or how about we ban these specific types of guns, why not ban all of them? Because one way or another, if you shoot somebody with a gun, they're going to die. You're going to have a death on your hands one way or another.
Are you talking about like banning like all guns in general, like even pistols or all like machine
Yes.
guns? But no, I feel like if you're like in a family and you have a gun, like I feel like that's a good reason as long as you're not like killing people. You understand what I'm saying? It's like for protection. A lot of people just
And
want guns to feel
I
safe.
just think like, if you say, okay, we're gonna go ahead and ban like all guns, if anything, that's just gonna make more guns appear. Because American people were just like, oh, look, something's banned, we're just gonna go ahead and
It's a
do it
higher
anyway.
demand.
That's what happened in like when they during like prohibition, when they like just banned all alcohol. People still went to underground places and bought alcohol. You know what I mean?
That's a bad pit bulls. Do you see more pit bulls now?
Exactly. So it's just like, okay, we're gonna ban all guns, and people are just like, but I like my guns, so I'm just gonna buy them from black market and just have more guns.
You can't arrest really everybody. So now they already made the problem. You get what I'm saying? Now what would be the solution for it? I feel like in a way, see, I'm a conspiracy theorist. So when not really like that, but I feel like they allowed this to happen, so they can go and access, like it's an excuse, I feel, so they could be like, in order to make sure, there's more safety for the public, could we have more access to what you text in your phones or your emails, or could we listen in on your calls or stuff like that, which I'm pretty sure they already knew about this kid, you know what I mean? So I think it was just a way for them to just have more of a closer eye on people. I think it was for a bigger purpose than,
Well, hello, my name is Michael the Great. I feel like this is a good topic to talk about with guns, but I feel like, just like the car industry, we can make cars and say, I feel like it depends on a person's intentions. Whatever you make, like you could get a car, buy a car, get off the lot, and somebody with good intentions can drive the car, pick up people, do Uber. That's that purpose. But then somebody with bad intentions can actually go and run over 10 people with the car. So it's like,
And the car's considered a weapon then.
yeah, then it's considered that. But I feel like at the end of the day, we make guns, sometimes it's used for safety, sometimes it's used for violence. Whatever it's used for, it all depends on that person's intention. And with the school system, and like we're everyday average humans, I can't tell what you're thinking from the next person, but I feel like if we could get to a certain extent of understanding people in the school system, because nowadays I feel like the school system is such based off tests, money, power, it's not really to indulge in the kids, what the kids want, what they understand, really understanding, the next generation. As a school system, it's more based on this, that, and the third. So, whether it was counselors, they're doing their job, working with the kids, and actually helping them. So I feel like it's all based on someone's truly intentions. You can't ban something that's made for good and that's made for bad. So,
Go ahead, Lord.
But what I want to say is that, all right, now we're talking on the side of mental illness, right? but I think that it's wrong just to apply the fact that someone was mentally ill to all these like people that end up getting like arrested for mass murderers. You know what I mean? Like, come on, bro. You really think like just because they killed a bunch of people that makes them like mentally ill? You know what I mean? The Columbine kids honestly knew what they were doing. They were planning out for weeks to have videos with them and guns and everything. You're not mentally ill. Stop claiming mental illness. You know what I mean?
Bro. You just want to kill people. At the
Yeah,
end of
bro.
the day,
What's
my thing is this, and I make an argument with this. If it was an African American kid, you know what I mean, they would paint him like a evil, like straight diabolic.
Yeah.
Even with Trayvon Martin, when Trayvon Martin was killed, now remind you, this kid was walking home. You know what I mean? He was just killed. Now I wouldn't want to make a comparison to this, but anytime it's a black teen or anything like that, we are painted as and we pass away or we're in the news, we're painted as a diabolical villain. They brought up stuff saying that he was expelled in school, for weed possessing, being high and all types of sorts of stuff. When this kid goes and kills 17 of his classmates, he's mentally ill. So now the thing is this, everybody has parents, everybody, I didn't see the documentation on this kid or whatever like that, but when I'm watching the news, and I wanted to stay away from news, so when I'm watching the news, they're asking, why did he do this? Why is this? That is not the problem.
and exactly, like, if you're gonna go ahead and claim that a kid's mentally ill, show me some like medical documents. You know what I mean? Like, I could sit here and say, oh yeah, I'm mentally ill. In the same way that people just sit there and be like, oh yeah, no, I have anxiety. And it's like, like I'm depressed and everything. You could just simply claim that you're never that day in your life. You know what I mean? So is this person like self-diagnosing, or is his lawyer diagnosing him, or is it just to the fact where it's like he's actually mentally ill? If he's actually mentally ill, show me some documentation that shows me that the kid was ill.
Because if he wasn't all there, he shouldn't have went to that school. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So I think that like one thing where you guys have touched on is important is the intention or like the decision making of whoever owns a gun. As we all know, we have an amendment that we have the right to bear arms, just like we have the freedom of speech, we have the freedom of religion. In this country, we have that right. However, it's your decision on if you're going to use that right on either a defensive, protective way, in which we all hope for, why you buy a gun to defend yourself, or you do it on the contrary, which is to violent, sense. And you can't determine people's intention when they go and buy a gun. You can't determine an intention just like someone buys a car and then later like, I'm gonna run over all these people.
And I think that's the reason why I just don't like guns. You know what I mean? Like with a gun, I just feel like, all right, you're defending yourself. Uno, right? Like, say if someone's coming towards you and they're like gonna like beat the crap out of you, and your first like thought is like, yo, let me grab my gun. Like, that's why like guns just like bother me. It's just like, okay, like you can just basically say, oh yeah, this person put his hands on me, I didn't like it, I shot him. Like, that's just, why do we have to go that far? You know what I mean? And usually if you're aiming with a gun, no one's gonna shoot you in your leg. No one's doing that. Like, most of the time you shoot and you're aiming.
You shoot to kill.
Yeah, you're aiming to kill. Like, you know what I mean? Like, bro, get a razor blade. You know what I mean?
No, but I'll make an argument against that because I've almost witnessed my father about to take a man's life in front of my eyes. It was around the time around Irma. He was visiting a patient over there in a place they call the prisons in South Miami, right? You get what I'm saying? My little brother was in the back seat, I was in the front seat, everything like that. So my dad's getting out of the car. He's getting his notes together. It's early in the morning because he has to go over there. He has patients to. He's a home nurse and everything like that. So he was about to go and do his visit. So as soon as he turns around, a guy walks up on him, right? So then my dad, first thing he does, pulls out the gun because the guy just walked up on him. When we drove up, he said, man, I'm not here for that. You get what I'm saying? So he's like, oh, no, I'm not here to buy drugs or anything like that, because they sell all sorts of stuff over there. So this is the environment, but he has to work here, nevertheless. A lot of home nurses have to do this. So he goes and, he pulls out the gun. And my dad didn't shoot him, you know what I mean? He was just like, all right, you have, I'm giving you a chance, back up. He's like, bruh, I don't, the guy told him, bruh, shoot me, you know what I mean? But my dad still didn't go and kill the guy. His homeboy came over there and pulled him away. But you get what I'm saying? So certain times it is good because it stops certain problems. But, that's why I say handguns, I would be more for that than these
But
assault rifles, these shotguns
But it's
out there
like,
and stuff.
but it's like, did he have to go to the extent? Think about it. Right? The dude just walked up on him. You know what I mean?
Oh no, homie had a knife.
Oh,
Yeah, homie had a
Yes,
knife.
you should have mentioned that.
Yo, I should have mentioned that.
I just did like, yo, old boy about to blast this dude for no reason. Pops, don't do it.
No, he dropped the knife when my dad pulled out the gun. But if it wasn't for
Yeah,
that,
if it wasn't for
my dad would have had stab wounds or whatever. You get what I'm saying?
So I have a question. So let's say we want to eradicate all guns. Now, how do we protect those that are violent with guns or without guns? Because we're saying that we want to remove all guns, right? Let's just give that hypothetical, even if you're not for it. But let's say we do. How do we protect those that are violent, or how do we protect those that are causing war, causing let's say
all we can do
riot?
is try. All we can do is try and not really accomplish it because there's so much people. We could put positive messages out there, to be on a better path.
But how do you try if, let's say, you have, a horde of 40 people outside of a news station, let's say, with, maybe they might not be guns, but they're, smoke bombs or they're homemade bombs, whatever. And how do you protect that? You might not have real guns, but what are some other tactics that it can be? Because you can't just say we can try. Like, what do you think? I'm trying to see, if you guys can think of something rather than just we can easily replace guns with.
Guns killed Martin Luther King, and all he tried was peaceful protests.
You know what?
That's why I feel like all we can do is try.
They have tear gas, bro.
Who's carrying around tear gas?
That's still weapons.
The cops.
Didn't the white people used to use hoses on us?
Yo.
Hey, that's a good point. That's not a bad point.
Okay,
use
all right.
hoses.
All right, see, that wasn't. I don't think that was the point of Vinny's argument. Talking about the hypothetical situation.
The point is to see if we're trying to eradicate something, we still have aggressive people. We still have violent people in this world. We all know that. Now it's it's what Brian is saying. It's we still need to keep that peace because even though we live in such a distorted world sometimes, we don't think that guns is a solution. To some people, they think that guns is a solution. However, in my personal opinion in all of this is that regardless with gun control laws or anything that might be thrown to try to help the situation, I think it's deeper than just a law that can happen. Like Will even mentioned, if you remove everything, it probably even worse. Make the situation worse. And I kind of agree in the sense of there might be people that internally is what they live. We don't know what that. Let's say all those shooters that done the mass shooting at schools. We don't know what's going on in their lives or what's going on in their head. So regardless of let's take out all the guns in the world, or let's just add this sort of law. It might help or not, but we still have people that are going through serious situations at home. And just a simple example, the kid, Nicholas Cruz from Parkland, his parents just recently passed away. His adopted parents passed away. And right now, you just imagine what may be going on in his head. He probably was bullied in school. He was probably, an introvert. He didn't have many friends. So that there was some sort of psychological issue going on within his head. Now, if I'm a counselor in school, if I'm somebody that can treat this sort of situation, I need to be aware. I need to be, okay, these are red flags that I need to treat with this specific person rather than, let's just push aside. You get me? That's what I'm trying to see if you guys can understand in all of this.
Oh, so you're talking more for public safety when it comes to the schooling environment and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that the last thing you want to do is make school feel like a prison now, right? Because you want to have all these metal detectors.
No, but there still has to be metal detectors.
No, yeah, but I don't know if you guys have heard, they're trying to see if teachers should now be armed. And we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that before we get there.
That's not a bad idea.
That is a horrible idea.
Before we get to that.
That's like taxi drivers being armed, bro. You know what I mean, bro?
They are.
Pay your fare.
Yo, man, no, man.
Go ahead, Sophia. Sure.
The thing about teachers being armed is that it wouldn't make much of a difference because, first of all, you don't know a teacher's mindset. A teacher can be just like this kid. You know what I mean? People can also be mentally ill. Just because they're a teacher and they have some authority in the classroom doesn't mean that they're all there. And also, a kid can easily go and get the gun. I know they're probably going to lock it up and everything, but there's always a way. If there's a will.
Yeah, but what they're trying to say is that it wouldn't be just a regular teacher. It would have they would have proper training as well. So
yeah.
it's
Doesn't
not
matter
just
how much training you have, you can still go off the like. You can still
But-
snap one day.
But
and,
like, yeah, but like I said, it's all based on attention. And at the same time, I feel like in society, I'm not trying to make it a race thing, but kids that's brought up and go to school, like this was a public school, and you have like let's say Homestead and Coral Reef, two different public schools, but in one area this is like A school, but in this area it's more of like struggling environment, D school, F school. These kids see this stuff every day, so it's like they walk home, trying to get home, and they hear gunshots, they hear this, they hear that, and it's not to say that it's not going to happen, but to put guns in the school, why put it in the school system now when these kids actually go through this struggle of trying to actually like make it home safely, go to school safely, get on the bus and do things, but in this neighborhood, this community, it's like you gotta like actually survive like you're in the jungle. And now since this school got shot up or whatever, because a kid, and these kids like it's not the first time a kid brought a knife to school, a gun to school, in these situations, So it's like now that it's on this type of school system or these type of people, it's like not to make it a class thing, but at the end of the day, it's like this been going on. Like why bring in guns in the school system when in the urban side of the life, you have these kids walking through this stuff every day, every night, just to make a living, and family struggling or whatever. So it's like, cause this school is like rated top A school or whatever, they get like some publicity behind them. It's like, oh wow, now we want to take action. It don't make sense when you got kids that go through this stuff every day just to make it home or walk to school.
I would say that who's the people paid to serve and protect? Where was the school police at this time period? You get what I'm saying? If anything, just have more school police. I think if you would have like a good, depending on how big a campus is, have 5 school police officers, and it's not even if you feel like, oh man, it feels like a prison. Well, to have metal to, if you feel like there's a risk, even at South Ridge, I've had friends got pat down for marijuana. You know what I mean? Kid could just be standing there. I've seen my principal walk up on 5 kids and pat them all down, go through their backpacks and stuff like that. Now, and that's all for speculation of marijuana. Now, if it's off of, guns or anything like that, we used to have a school police. Even school police have stopped kids just to check them for marijuana at my school. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I want to go on record saying that just because of this school shooting doesn't mean they want to have like the idea of having teachers armed came up. That's been around.
I still would.
That's been around for a while. So
Well, I want to know.
That's still
just it doesn't mean because it was in a different school. Because we all know when you look at the stats, like Parkland was voted #1 safest city in Florida. Yeah, like regardless of where it was, like it doesn't matter. Like that's not what we're trying to say. Like
it's
if
more
it was
of a global effect.
yeah, it's a global effect.
national.
Like we know that that regardless of if you were in an urban neighborhood or a rural, like it doesn't matter. Like these sort of like these ideas that we're talking about, these debates of like should we do this, should we do that, have been around for years now. It's not the first time that they say like, hey, let's put barbed wire fence around the school, or hey, let's put metal detector when you walk in, or let's have teachers being armed, let's have guard dogs in front of the schools. Like that's not that's not new, fresh out the park.
I mean, honestly, school is like prison when you don't focus on that fact too much. You focus
Yeah,
on
prisons has like bells and all that.
And then when you
for
do try to
subject
look
and all
at
that.
school as a prison, it's more like school. I don't know why. But then
What-
when you're just trying to enjoy your day, it's prison.
What I've noticed about this is like I seen a post. I don't know if it's real or not, but I seen a post on Instagram. There's been 17 school shootings this year, and like this is the biggest school shooting that they're talking about right now.
It's 2018, 2
It's
months.
2018, already 17 school shootings. So now we're just scratching on this. Now we should have been like scratching on this like the first 3 school shootings. Like we need
First one.
more, security. This kid actually walked up with the gun, sprayed his way upstairs, and then into a class.
Where's the school police? So that's what I'm saying. Why don't we have a school police and like every every probably floor, if anything
Well,
like that.
if you look at the campus, it's huge, and they only had one that was on duty.
Well, that's a problem.
So where he was located versus the shooter, does make a difference.
That's what I'm saying. that's what I'm saying for future. No, have more school police.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Still have metal detectors when you come in. I still, you know.
Yeah, like all entrances, any possible entrance.
Yeah, you know, because I still disagree with. Oh man, then school will be like a prison. Dude, we have gates. You know what I mean? We have gates and all that. You know, the bell system and everything like that. Well, like it or not, you know what I mean? It's
Wearing
for
the same
safety.
clothes every day.
Well, yeah, you know, it's all for safety, man.
Okay. So basically, why don't we treat it like any other type of crime or any type of sociological crime? So if a student was talking about how they were going to kill themselves, and other students decided either to tell every teacher, every form of authority, and the kids still killed themselves, whether it was at home or in class. And this has happened before. There was a student that shot himself in the head in class,
Wow.
in the middle of everybody.
Really?
Yeah.
Where is it? Google. Okay.
And two brute and boom.
On top of that, you don't need a large gun to commit a mass shooting. There was even a young child that was like this tall. For the record, I'm holding about like 4 feet above the ground. He walked into a class and shot about 8 students with a handgun.
Oh, okay, but with my argument, like I'll let you get back to your point. I'm even saying like the handguns and stuff like that. Yeah, there's a problem with that, but I'm saying there shouldn't be assault rifles sold like that. You understand what I'm saying? The selling that stuff to people. No, I'm not with that. Handguns and stuff. That's still a problem itself. It's still a risk.
It's always going to be a problem.
Yeah.
But on top of that, if you were to treat it as maybe a hate crime where it was white student and a black student, or Hispanic students and a Chinese student, or black students and a white student on top of each other. If that were to happen, would we treat it the same exact way? So that one article where
Orlando?
Huh?
Orlando one?
I don't.
That was a hate crime.
I don't remember. If
No. Wait, aren't you talking? You talking about the Parkland? No, I think he's still talking
know,
about.
but-
No,
Las Vegas?
I'm talking about not in Vegas.
The club in Orlando.
Oh, you're talking about the church shooting?
It's not a
Okay.
mass shooting. It's not a mass
I'm
shooting.
sorry.
It's well, you can use the church one too, but the one where I think it was 3 or 4 African American children took a white kid and they
Beat him up.
they tortured him or something.
I know what you're talking about.
Girl.
I know what you're talking about.
It- that. So would we treat it the same exact way as that, where we had police officers constantly asking or patting people down to see if they would do anything to harm another student? Maybe they asked other students if they're going to harm themselves, or teachers the same exact way. On top of all of that, would you not only ban guns, but would you also ban all types of weapons that would be used to harm somebody in like a tragic way? Because of course we have guns that instead of shooting bullets, we have guns that kind of like airsoft or paintball, or they just shoot bags of sand.
Yeah, it hurts.
Why not just use those instead of any other type of gun?
See, and my argument with this is that the guns are still out there. You know what I mean? It's already in the world. It's already in the world. You're not getting rid of that.
Yeah, that's true.
You
Honestly,
take
it's
back
the
all the
intention. Honestly, that dude where the dude got tortured and all that, it was over a girl. And the first things that was said about this school shooting, that it was this guy had a girl on his mind, you know? And then they changed it to he's ill. They
always
forgot
the
about the
girls,
girl.
huh?
You know, I think it was really his intent. It was really over a girl why he did it. He didn't care about anybody. And you know what? They even interviewed a girl that he went to middle school with, and she was saying how she was just clowning with him right now. She was like, "Oh, I'm surprised it wasn't you. Like the school's getting shot." Like she passed by the shooter,
Oh, I remember.
like exiting the school, and then she said, "Oh," she told him, "I can't believe it wasn't you," and then he just walked on, ignored her.
Wait, what? Wait, what do you mean?
Like an old middle school friend of the shooter
Okay.
passed by the shooter
Okay.
after he shot up the school.
He's surprised that he didn't get shot.
And she told him,
Like,
I can't believe it wasn't. She had no idea he just did that. She had no idea it was him, and she joked with him like, "Yo, I can't believe it wasn't you." and she chuckled, and then he mumbled something and kept walking.
Oh yeah, because then he dropped the gun. Nobody knew who it was at
Yeah,
first.
he
He dropped the gun and just went incognito.
Yeah, he hid in with the students leaving, trying to escape.
So, would you agree or disagree that the solution is not just one thing?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree. It
Another-
starts-
I think
starts
another-
somewhere, and then it goes from there.
I think another solution that we should talk about all right, on the case that if this person is mentally ill, let's talk about. I know that we just said like we'll get to where the cops are like searching people in metal detectors, but let's go further beyond beyond that. Let's have it to where, excuse me, in schools they have guidance counselors, right? Like if you're a guidance counselor, it is your job, like basically to make sure like that the wellness of the students is okay. Like that is like what you're meant for, you know. I went to South Ridge to where you go to a counselor's office and the counselors are nowhere to be found. You know what I mean?
And that's due to budgetary cuts too.
Yeah, it's like do
There's
we
a lot of students, but
No, but it's like not because like counselors are just like they didn't pay counselors. No,
Yeah.
we have counselors in the school. The counselors are just never in their office. They're probably somewhere across the street. Like you cannot find them. And this is a problem for maybe a kid has to go check the grades, or maybe a kid seriously wants to talk about their problems. You know what I mean? And there are the teachers can sit there and talk to them about their problems, but it is known that they have to like go ahead and like recommend them to the guidance counselor. You know what I mean? Where are the guidance counselors at? Because that's someone that maybe the kid really needs to talk to. You know what I mean? They can't trust, like maybe they feel like they can't trust their friends. They can't trust another teacher. Maybe the guidance counselor is the only one there. You know what I mean? They actually need to start paying attention to these kids, because these kids are on the fact that if they're mentally ill and if that's the reason why they commit these shootings, like they need help, bro. Like talk to them about their problems, because they'll go home and they have no one to talk to them about.
And it just manifests. It
just sits there manifesting.
to a bigger problem. You
You're
know?
a bigger
Simplest
problem where
problem,
you're just like, boom, I can't take it no more. So that either leads to two things. Now you got a kid that might end up suicidal, may want to kill themselves. You know what I
he's
mean?
not looking for a solution.
Or you may just have it go to the way extreme and have these kids where they want to commit a mass murder because they just feel like, I hate these people who are making me feel this way. Let me go ahead and take them out.
I agree with that.
But when you're saying branching. That's all branching from. I kind of lost. I got lost into.
It's like a
what you
solution,
said.
because you know how we were talking about,
Okay.
let's have the cops like pat them down, more police, more like.
That does create a hostile environment.
Because what that is, bro, is that you're suspecting that, all right, these kids, like, they're ready to kill. Like, that's what you're making kids, like, when you're making it seem like, these kids are here and they're just ready to kill. You know what I mean? Maybe you could detect the problem before that. Talk to these kids who are probably mentally ill and never sit there and talk to anybody, never got the help that they, like, need. You know what I mean? Go farther beyond just suspecting, all right, one of these kids that's walking through this door right now is a killer. Let me go check
Okay.
this and
When
stop
I
them.
said basically, all right, more cops to be there. That's just in case of a threat. You understand what I'm saying? Now I do agree with having counselors talk to them. Probably that should be a course. You know what I mean? Probably, if anything, they should probably make it a course where mental health. Mental health is something. You know, we have social studies, right? You know, but social studies is what is that really the study of? You know, I guess it teaches about other cultures and other.
There are courses that are like that.
But what mental health?
Kind of. It's communications.
But I feel like it should be more about self-love and understanding yourself. If you have those classes instead of bakery, home ec, or whatever, that doesn't
Culinary,
matter.
bro.
Yo,
Like, think about it, but they do have now where they have the HIP program in school,
yeah.
where it's basically like, oh, all right, we'll talk to you about not doing drugs. Like, it's basically teaching the little ninth graders, like, hey, this is how you go ahead and you be an adult. But you'll have kids who aren't professionals. Like, you're putting the kids. I understand the tactic that they're trying to do, make it comfortable for you to talk about all these things, because they're gonna put you around a person around your same age. But at the same time, these kids who are going into the classroom talking to you about your mental health, talking to you about sex ed, talking to you about just being an adult, they're not experts on that.
And they're all doing it for their own personal gain. If I'm not mistaken, they get a scholarship or something. And another thing, I had hip in 9th grade. A kid tried selling me drugs. I ain't gonna much lie. I'm gonna keep that real. And he was one of the hip helpers or whatever like that. And he's my age, so it's crazy.
Gee, bro, we were in the same class.
I mean, one time.
Wait.
Go ahead.
Well, in my school, they have this thing called Student Voices. I don't know if they had it in any of your schools, but it's when like kids who like been through problems, got bullied, or like wanted to commit suicide, who had depression, go and they talk to you about like their story and try to help you out and stuff like that.
That's what hip is like. They once brought like 6 students, and one of them ended up homeless at one point. They all went through some really bad stuff, and then they talked to us about when they were going through that and how they felt.
So
Yeah.
like what you said, Laura, like for example, the FBI, their job is to do a bunch of things, but one of them is to prevent some attacks in the nation. So when they receive tips, they investigate. As guidance counselors, not only do they are there for any sort of advice or help, their job is to go around and to do the work as far as like, okay, let's go around each class to talk to students that might be going through depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts. And one of the things that maybe again could be added to this is having polygraph tests for guidance counselors, especially like when let's say you're applying for a position in the military in the government. They go through every sort of background check within your life, and it's not that we're trying to say like every kid needs to go through a background check.
Don't subjecting them to test is the worst thing, because then they just feel like pressured. And
yeah,
everything.
they're like, oh, am I like a lab rat or something? But it's more than just being like, oh, how are you feeling? Because it might not be through the surface that you see the issue. It's deeper than just the surface. And like you said, like it's going beyond than just we need to put like certain metal detectors in the school or having certain guards. It's like it's the actual like day in and day out of people, because let's say it's not a mass a shooter, but it's let's just get somebody that commits suicide. It's like those people might be going through depression, and it's like, okay, well, maybe they're not bullied.
Yeah.
They're going through something else, and it's just like they want an outlet to leave or to go somewhere else. And we might think it's because of guns. No, it might be just like what you were saying, like that they need that attention, they need that love, they need that care that they don't have maybe at home, or they do have it at home, but they're missing it.
And it just gets to the point where it's not only like guidance counselor, because guidance counselor, you're probably like you're 2 people in the school of like 5,000 kids, usually like hundreds. Like you can't observe everybody, but it can even be among the administration. If you're an administrator, you're probably walking around at school all day. You can just like look at some of the kids, bro. I knew a girl, and she was like really depressed, bro, and it was like to the point where she's not eating, like she just sits alone at lunch. You know what I mean? None of the administrators would just look over there at this girl like, yo, she's obviously not right. She's like lonely, whatever. She's not feeling okay. You know what I mean? Like, look at these kids, because it's like, body language is gonna tell you something way more than a person probably talking to you is. You know what I mean? What's this?
Another thing about that is, you're right about like administrators. There's like so many kids walking around, so that's why I feel like kids need to say something too. They've been stressing that point, like if you see something, say something, especially at my school. But there are only so many administrators, but there's 5,000 of us, and if we see somebody who's like like you can tell that there's some signs or something. We need to see something. Like this guy, the kid who did the shooting, his friend was like, oh yeah, he always had guns on his Instagram, and like he was very lonely.
Like you don't want to talk about that,
and you don't tell nobody. Like if I had a friend like that, I'd tell somebody.
No, I feel but they did report this though.
They reported what he said on YouTube, and nobody did.
No, but it was more stuff than that. You know what I mean? Well, I'm pretty sure people spoke up against like, yo, this kid's weird. Like, you know what I mean? Like especially if he's on Instagram posting that he has guns and stuff. Nobody said anything. I highly doubt that. You know what I mean? Because if I see a kid and then they're talking,
but then it gets to the point where like, I guess they don't take everything as serious, because we live in this like age.
Trolls.
Yeah, we live in this age where this kid's just doing this for clout. He's just doing this for popularity. Sometimes you see kids on Instagram with like a bunch of guns. Oh yeah, you think you have a bunch of guns, or where it gets to a point like if you go on the internet, like suicide becomes like this little joke where this person's just like, oh, I'm gonna kill myself. Like, oh
I'm
my
gonna
god,
kill
it's
you.
like
No,
like
that's true because that one middle school student joked with him after he shot up the school. Like, how can you even joke after feeling traumatized? You know, having your school shot up. You can't joke.
Yeah, bro. Like even
Wow, that
bro,
is crazy.
Like
you know?
think about it.
That
Even
proves that they don't
yeah,
take it seriously.
even the topic of school shooters has been a joke at least like 100,000 times.
I
in a year.
even think this rally, the rallies that they're having in Florida, it's a joke everywhere. It's a joke because these kids are not really behind the cause.
and that's the problem when
people
you
are,
have
though.
when you have this
Oh,
serious.
But the majority, if you don't have the right people backing you, then I don't. For the principal to go and say, oh yeah, everybody get out of class and we're
That's
gonna
so
go and walk
dumb
around.
to me.
Is what is it doing?
yeah.
What is it
There's
really
no
doing?
control.
Because if we really like cared about this, why would we be going like during school? Shouldn't we be
Yeah.
doing this after school if we really like?
Oh yeah, it's to
wanted
be after
change?
school, probably walking into City Hall. Everybody stands there. You know what I mean? When we had a protest at Southridge, it was for a different cause. It was for Miss
Bell.
Miss Bell. So she was like our activities director.
the
And it
most
was
unneeded job. Oh god.
But it was held after school and all this stuff. So it's the way you execute something, you know what I mean? And it has to be done with care, and it has to be done with the right people. If it's not done with the right people or the right care, then it's seen as a joke at the end of the day because we live in a generation full of trolls and people who don't have anything better to do, so they'll make a joke about your dreams or what you inspired to do and what causes you're trying to,
Yeah.
It takes away the power of the words that that you do have. Every word that you say out your body is to push a mountain if you really care for it, if it's really behind your heart.
And just to conclude right now, I got one more question for you guys before we wrap up. Do you think that, what society nowadays pushes out, like, the music that you listen to, the video games that you play, the movies that you watch, is that an effect to everything that might be happening to some of the school shootings? Let's just keep it to the school shootings because it's with younger individuals.
As far as like music, I've always been like music makes people want to shoot in school up. Like video games makes a kid want to just go ahead. Like
I don't believe that.
I don't believe in that because it's like.
I
Bro.
love Marilyn Manson, bro. His music's great. I had never made me want to do anything like them Columbine kids. You get what I'm saying? So I play Call of Duty too. So it's just
It all depends on how you take it.
It just depends on who you are too. Because
Yeah.
if you're playing Call of Duty every day and you're like, oh my god, I want to like I play Call of Duty in the past. I play GTA and I want to go outside and like kill people. It all
Yeah.
depends on who you are and what your mindset is.
I think there's the maturity level, but then it goes to the this is where we can cross the mental illness area because there's some that might not comprehend, like, this is fake, this is not a reality, and they'll bring that sort of imagination world into their reality because of anger
Where it's
or
like a
depression.
high, like you get a high off of being in GTA and running little people over, but like you probably want to add like more of a high, so you're just like, oh, I'm gonna go ahead and do it for real.
That's dumb to me.
Exactly, like.
So that's why I say, I mean, it all goes with how they execute this, and I most definitely think to have a class for self-love. I mean, not self-love and just but just mental illness in a way. I'm not saying like, oh man, if they detect there's a problem with a kid, let's go send him to the counselor every day. Let's go to the psychologist and have him doped up off some drug. No, sit down and talk to a kid. Sit down and have and don't make it seem so cliche because that's what I'm saying. You got to have the right care there. You understand what I'm saying?
You have to approach it.
One last thing, for me at least, I feel like there's always going to be violence in the world. If you take off guns, people are going to be killing with knives, with cars. Like, I feel like, yes, we should put more control on who's buying, but I feel like if we get rid of it altogether, there's always going to be someone who's going to kill someone for no reason. It doesn't have to be using a gun. Yeah, that can do a lot, but so can killing someone with a car. You know what I mean? Like, it's just
And that's
pointless.
unfortunate, to think that's that we live in. I think United States, every country has their issues, and as far as like the death. So like I grew up in Brazil when I was a kid, and in certain areas like the favela, it's like literally like it's gunshots from morning to night.
Robberies.
Yeah, robberies, being assault, like in daylight, like just being robbed or like pickpocketed. And I can imagine, maybe in another country it's completely different or it's worse.
It's different.
Yeah.
As bad.
But I think that regardless of wherever we are, like the last thing that we can do is as a nation or maybe as a country or as a unit kind of like overthrow what we have protected, and it's maybe your rights or it's the police enforcement, those that protect you. Like that's something that at least for me, like I can always like trust in the sense, okay, they're gonna help us in this area. But at the end of the day, I do think that this discussion was good. I do want to also admire the courageousness and selflessness of those that passed away in the shooting. There was a few that I found out today that they got awarded the Hero Award because they're like in the cadet program. Yeah.
Let's have a moment of silence.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to hear, but it's great to think that like man, like if that was my kid, that he lowered the death toll because he protected other lives with his body. Like that's something that it goes unparamount like to every level. Like to have that as as your kid, that nobody probably would have done, or I would think that would be the opposite. As an adult in that situation, probably wouldn't have done that in that case. So for a 14-year-old to be in that position to defend his life or give his life for somebody else is something that it's like nobody can like pay that debt back. So so I just want to end this moment with the podcast and make sure to come back to our next one. We're going to be talking about Black Panther in our next comic podcast. Do you have any last remarks?
Yeah. One of the things that I would like for all of you to take away is we talked about this gun control problem. And we see that it's a much bigger issue than just stripping away guns. There are other things to consider, whether it's mental health issues, security issues, and signs that all of us can pick up on and see about being aware of the people around us to help them. So again, it's easy to blame the NRA, and I'm one of them, that's causing a lot of this problem, but there are other factors that we have to consider. So hopefully we won't have to deal with this again, but when this conversation comes up again, you will be able to at least consider, again, a lot of different factors that are going into this. So instead of having a knee-jerk reaction, we have to address a lot of problems, not just the one thing focusing on just gun control. So on that note, thank you guys for joining us for this podcast. And again, yes, as we talked about, next week is Black Panther.